Mr Deputy President, on 15th September last year I made my first speech to this Senate. In that speech I drew an analogy of running the family farm and running our nation. I said, and I quote, "The family farm cannot carry too much debt, otherwise when a tough time strikes, the farm is in financial trouble." So too with our nation. If governments build debt, they are mortgaging our children's future away. It pleases me that the previous federal government paid off our huge debt. This is something that as a nation we can be proud of. It is surely the envy of the world. Look at what is happening today with the mismanagement of finance, the blatant abuse of borrowing that this government has now undertaken. We are looking at a debt by 2011-2012, Mr Deputy President, of some $220 billion. They've already admitted that the budget will not go into balance or into the black, even perhaps by a smallest amount, until 2015-2016. So we're looking at a debt of some $300 billion the federal government will owe, and the reason it will go that high is because from 2011 to 2012 they forecast economic growth to be a massive 4.5% and to continue the following year. In their dreams, I say, to think that in 2011 and 12 we're going to have 4.5% growth and continue, and that will perhaps bring in extra taxes for the government. They will run us to a $300 billion debt. We're already looking at $220 billion. The money they will put into the national broadband network, if they don't get private investment especially, there's $43 billion committed. They want to commit a guarantee of another $26 billion for the so-called Rudd Bank. Let's just look at $300 billion worth of debt, Mr Deputy President. We know one thing's for sure. Money is just like any other commodity or service. When demand exceeds supply, the price rises. And what they're doing is contributing to higher interest rates in the future. And that is exactly what is going to happen. So if we've got a $300 billion debt, say, come to the year 2015, at 6.5%, you're looking at $20 billion a year just to pay the interest bill. $20 billion until you pay one nurse in an aged care facility anywhere in Australia, until you carry out one smallest obligation of the federal government's responsibility. $20 billion just in the interest. And I say, how are we ever going to pay it back? When I made my speech first and made a speech to this Parliament last September, it was pleasing that this nation was debt-free. And to think that in a matter of 4 or 5 years, we're going to be drowning in debt of some $300 billion. As I said, this is mortgaging our children's future away. But this is what you expect. When we look across the other side of the chamber here, of the 32 Labor senators, 26 come from the union movement. You know, just slotted their way into here by being active in their unions. So what's their business experience? Here they are running the biggest business in the nation today, and most of them have probably never ever run a business. So what hope would they ever have of actually controlling and managing the finances of this nation? This is an absolute disgrace to put us into this much debt, and to think they're saying they're skiting and gloating about the infrastructure. Well, what's the big rail infrastructure for New South Wales, that proud state I represent, that has a government hell-bent in New South Wales of putting it down the tube? Oh, we've got $91 million for the West Metro line in Sydney. There's virtually nothing for inland New South Wales, anything west of the Divide. There's any projects of substance in roads or rail. What have they done for water? Surely, when we're to get out of this debt and pay the interest and pay the debt off, we need industry and exports to do that. And the agricultural industry is one of the industries that has taken the biggest hit in this budget, abolishing Land and Water Australia to actually plan, prepare, conserve our natural resources, to go on our research and development in the agricultural industry after a time when Prime Minister Rudd commended the Chinese government for their stimulus package and the way they focused on their primary industries. Here he is doing exactly the opposite. Mr President, it is with deep regret that the financial mess this mob are putting this nation into is just going to ensure tough times for our children's future, and that is frightening.